Hello everyone. My name is Peter. Welcome to the true stories being shared here. Please sit back and listen to today's story. Was I wrong for refusing to meet my biological mother after I directly signed up for a DNA test? I was adopted when I was 6 years old. I've always felt incredibly fortunate because my adoptive parents, who were in their late 20s when they took me in, were nothing short of amazing. They loved and supported me like I was their own flesh and blood, and I never felt like my life was missing anything just because I was adopted. Growing up, I had very little information about the details of my adoption. I knew I had been removed from my biological family by social services due to neglect and abuse, but I didn't remember anything about my life before being adopted. It wasn't something I dwelled on much, because I never felt like I needed those missing pieces to feel whole or valuable. We encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments. Your messages will be passed along to the original poster op of the real Reddit story. We hope your insights can help them find a solution to the challenges they're facing. Thank you for being a part of our community and contributing your valuable thoughts. Recently, out of sheer curiosity, I decided to sign up for one of those home DNA test kits. I wasn't looking for a reunion or any deep connection. I just wanted to know more about my genetic history, like why I was removed from my biological family, and if there were any medical issues I should be aware of. Honestly, I wasn't expecting to find anyone closely related to me, so this felt like a low-risk way to get answers. About 8 weeks after submitting the kit, I finally remembered to check my results, and to my surprise, I matched with my biological mother. I'll call her BM. She sent me a message saying she was thrilled I'd completed the test and that she was eager to reconnect with me and the rest of my biological family. She said she thought about me every day, that I had always been loved, and that I even had a full biological brother who was very excited to meet me, a brother I didn't even know I had. Her message was genuinely emotional, and honestly, it was overwhelming. To me, she was a complete stranger, and reading those words didn't make me feel anything other than uncomfortable. I took a long time crafting a thoughtful response to BM, explaining that while I appreciated her message, I had no interest in forming a relationship with her or any of my biological family. I made it very clear that my reason for doing the DNA test was purely for information. I wanted to understand my past, maybe learn some medical history, and find out why I was given up, but that was it. I apologized if my actions gave her the wrong impression. BM read my message and replied that she was willing to provide all the information I wanted, but only if I agreed to meet her at a cafe to discuss our relationship further. I declined, telling her I wasn't comfortable meeting in person. I offered a phone call as a compromise, but emphasized that I only wanted information and then for both of us to move on with our lives. She flat out refused to give me any information unless I agreed to meet her in person and discuss our relationship. I talked to my best friend about this, and she sided with BM, saying I was being unfair. She argued that by signing up for the DNA site, I had essentially opened the door to this situation, and refusing to meet BM now was like playing mind games and leading them on. So, am I the bad guy for not wanting a relationship with my biological mother after signing up for the DNA test site? Update 1. Hey everyone. It's been about 9 days since I last posted, and I figured it was time for an update. I really want to thank everyone who took the time to comment and give advice. I've read through everything, and it's been both helpful and eye-opening. So, after all the advice and some serious thought, I decided to talk to my biological mother again, hoping that maybe if I explained myself more clearly, she would understand where I was coming from. Unfortunately, things went downhill fast. Instead of trying to meet me halfway, she became more pushy, insisting that I was being selfish for not wanting to meet her face to face. She refused to give me any information unless I agreed to her terms, which honestly wasn't something I could accept. I've realized I was pretty naive to think that my biological family might be decent people. I mean, I was given up for a reason, but I guess a part of me wanted to believe that people can change. Looking back, I feel kinda stupid for even starting this whole journey. It's brought up a lot of emotions I wasn't really prepared to deal with, and honestly, I feel pretty disappointed by the whole situation. And as for my best friend, well, that's been another disappointment. Not only did she initially side with my biological mother, she hasn't been supportive throughout this entire mess. Even after I told her about the most recent conversation, she still couldn't really grasp why I was so upset. She kept saying I should just give them a chance and not be so harsh. It's like she doesn't understand how hard this has been for me, and I'm starting to feel like she never really got it in the first place. That's tough because I've always considered her one of my closest friends, but right now, I'm not sure she's someone I can lean on. After all of this, I decided to sit down with my adoptive parents and talk everything through with them. I hadn't really opened up to them about how deeply this has affected me, but as always, they were incredible. They were upset to hear how my biological mother had acted, and they reassured me that none of this was my fault. They reminded me that there was a reason I was removed from that situation, and I didn't owe it to anyone to fix things or make them right with people who clearly haven't changed. Talking to them made me realize how lucky I am to have them. They've been with me every step of the way, and they made it clear that no matter what happens, they are my real family, the ones who loved and supported me through everything. It's hard not to feel down after everything that's happened, but having them by my side makes it a little easier to cope. Honestly, I regret starting this whole DNA journey. It's brought more pain than I anticipated, and I can't help but wish I had just left the past where it belonged. But at the same time, I'm grateful for the reminder of how lucky I am to have my adoptive parents. They're the ones who have been there for me, and I couldn't ask for a better family. So that's where I'm at. I'm focusing on the people who truly care about me and letting go of the rest. It's not easy, but I know I'm on the right path. Again, thank you to everyone who reached out. It really has made me feel less alone in all of this. Take care, everyone. Update 2. Hi everyone, today I've been thinking a lot about my family, especially after everything that's happened recently. It's made me reflect on some of the best moments I've had with them, and one memory stands out. Something from when I was a kid that I'll never forget. I was probably around 8 at the time, just a few years after being adopted. It was around Christmas, and I remember feeling anxious because it was only my second Christmas with my adoptive parents. Holidays have always felt strange to me, even now. Anyway, my dad's friend owned a Christmas tree farm, and that year, my parents decided to take me to pick out a tree. We spent hours walking through rows and rows of trees. My parents kept asking me which one I liked best, and I remember feeling so much pressure, like I had to pick the most perfect one or I'd ruin Christmas. But they were so patient, letting me take my time. Eventually, I pointed out a tree. Honestly, to me, it looked like all the others, but my parents made such a big deal out of it. My dad knelt down to start sawing, and I remember he pretended to struggle and said, "Oh no, I think this tree might be too strong for me." He got me to help, saying he couldn't do it without me. So there I was, this 8-year-old kid, pretending to help my dad saw down this tree. Of course, I wasn't really doing anything, but they made me feel like I was the strongest kid in the world. When the tree finally fell, my dad picked me up and spun me around, saying, "We did it." When we got home and set up the tree, my mom brought out old boxes full of ornaments. She told me that we were starting a new tradition. Every year, each of us would pick a new ornament to add to the tree, something that represented something special from that year. That night, they gave me my very first ornament, a small wooden bear holding a heart engraved with the word family. My mom said, "This is for you because you made our family complete." I remember holding that ornament and feeling this overwhelming wave of love and belonging that I had never really felt before. In that moment, I don't think I even realized how much it impacted me. That moment defines how I see myself today. I am part of a loving family. I am their family. Every Christmas after that, we've always brought out that little wooden bear and hung it up first. It's become our tradition. The reason I've been thinking about this memory today is because it's a reminder that I'm so lucky to have the parents I do. They didn't just give me a home, they gave me a sense of belonging, and they gave me love. Even with everything going on, I know I have something truly special, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Anyway, thanks for letting me share this. I just needed to remind myself how amazing my family is, and I hope it brings a smile to your face like it did to mine. Hello everyone, I'm Peter. Welcome to our space for true stories. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. We will select the best comments to send to the original poster op of the real Reddit story. We hope your insights help them overcome their challenges. Thank you for being part of our community. Please sit back and enjoy today's story. AITA for unintentionally getting a midwife fired. I'm in the military, and anyone who's been in my position knows it's hard to balance your personal life with service. My wife and I started trying for a baby about 2 years after we got married. It wasn't an easy road for us. We faced a lot of disappointments early on, wondering if it would ever happen. But after a few months of trying, she finally got pregnant with our first child. That moment was supposed to be one of the happiest in our lives, but it didn't last long before reality hit me in the face. I was being deployed for 6 months. 6 freaking months. 6 months where I would miss everything that matters in my wife's pregnancy. About 6 weeks after we found out she was pregnant, I left. It crushed me, but duty calls, right? So the only appointment I got to attend was the very first one, where we confirmed she was pregnant. Every other milestone, the ultrasounds, hearing our baby's heartbeat, everything I missed. It was gut-wrenching. I had to listen to my wife describe all these amazing moments over crackling phone lines, with me halfway across the world, trying to imagine it in my head. Early on, my wife decided to use a midwife to ensure she'd have a more personal birthing experience, and I was 100% behind that decision. She's the one giving birth. I wasn't about to argue with her on how she wanted to bring our child into the world. If she felt that a midwife would make her feel more secure and comfortable, then who was I to question that? The plan was simple. I'd be there with her in the delivery room, alongside one of our mothers. My mom lived an hour's drive from the base where I was stationed, while her mom had to fly in from 4 hours away. Ideally, her mom would make it in time, but we had a backup plan. If things moved too fast, my mom could step in. My wife loved my mom too, so there wasn't any tension about it. At least, not then. Fast forward to my return. My wife's nearing her due date, like 1 week away. Finally, something was going right. I'd actually be here when our baby was born. I was gonna be there for this. She had an OB/GYN appointment that I could actually attend this time, and I was so ready to be involved. But then, life throws another curveball. She goes into labor early, on the morning of that appointment, no less. We rush to the hospital, barely making it, and they confirm she's in active labor. I immediately call her mom, who thankfully books a flight that will get her here around noon. My mom shows up a few hours later, excited, ready, prepared to be there for her granddaughter's birth. We're all tense, but also thrilled at the same time. And then, she walks in. The midwife. From the very moment she stepped into the room, her energy was off. My wife, being the sweet person she is, tells the midwife that I've just returned from deployment. You'd think that would soften the woman a little bit, right? Nope. She relaxes a bit, sure, but she clearly isn't happy that I'm there. I could feel it, the tension was thick in the room. It was like she didn't think I deserved to be there. Now, look, I get that birthing is stressful. I've read the books, I've listened to my wife's fears, and I know labor can be one of the hardest things a woman can go through. I wasn't trying to make things worse. Quite the opposite, I was trying to help. My wife was in pain, and I know that laughter has always helped her cope with stressful situations, so I made some light jokes to distract her from the contractions. That's when the midwife's mask slipped completely. She glared at me, hard, like I'd committed some unforgivable crime, and said, "You need to get serious and show some respect for your wife. She's in pain." I couldn't believe the audacity. Who was she to lecture me? I wasn't being disrespectful. I was doing exactly what my wife asked me to do: make her laugh, keep her distracted. But I swallowed the anger building inside me because this wasn't about me. It was about my wife. So I let it go. I focused all my energy on supporting my wife, trying to ignore the growing tension between the midwife and me. As noon approached, my wife was nearly 9 centimeters dilated, and it was becoming clear that her mom might not make it in time. I didn't want to leave her side, but we decided that it would be better to call a taxi for her mom, so I wouldn't have to drive over an hour to the airport and risk missing the birth. When her mom arrived, I briefly left the labor and delivery floor to go downstairs and pay the taxi driver. I didn't want her to have to deal with that. She was already worried about her daughter, and paying for a cab was the last thing she should have to think about. Just as the cab pulled up, I got a frantic call from my mom, telling me that the OB and the midwife were there, and the baby was coming fast. I tossed some cash at the cab driver and sprinted back upstairs, hoping to make it in time for the birth of my first child. But when I got to the labor and delivery floor, everything came crashing down. My mom was waiting in the hallway because she had stepped out to take a phone call, knowing that she wasn't supposed to be in the room. I used the intercom system to ask to be let back in. And that's when I got the first shock. They wouldn't let me in. I asked why, only to be told that there was an order not to allow me or anyone else back in to see my wife. I was furious and confused, demanding an explanation. But all I got was the threat of security being called if I kept insisting. So there I was, standing in the hallway, helpless, as my wife gave birth to our child without me. 2 hours later, 2 goddamn hours, my wife finally called me, exhausted, and asked where I had been. I told her I had been in the waiting room the entire time, trying to get back in, but the staff wouldn't let me. She was confused, just as much as I was. We eventually found out why. The midwife had lied. She told the staff that my wife had reported me as abusive and didn't want me there. Can you even imagine how that felt? The woman I love had to give birth alone, without me or her own mother there to support her, because of some twisted lie this midwife concocted. I missed the birth of my daughter, something I can never get back, because this midwife thought she had the right to play God with our lives. And why? Why did she do it? Because she didn't like that I wasn't there for all the appointments during my wife's pregnancy. Never mind the fact that I was deployed, something my wife had already explained to her. This woman, this monster, decided that because I hadn't been there every step of the way, I didn't deserve to be there when my child was born. I was devastated, angry beyond words. I felt like I had been robbed of one of the most important moments in my life. But I wasn't going to let this go. With my wife's full support, we filed a formal complaint against the midwife. It wasn't easy. Some of our friends tried to guilt us, saying we were overreacting, that it was wrong to take away her livelihood. But how could I not report her? She took something from me that I will never, ever get back. And yes, she was fired. Rightfully so. But that's not where the story ends. I've taken it a step further. After some advice, I reached out to JAG Military Legal Services to meet with an attorney and discuss what legal steps we could take. And let me tell you, we're not just stopping at a complaint. This woman will be held accountable for what she did. There's a pending defamation case, and we're looking into having her license suspended. She didn't just cause me emotional distress. She endangered my wife and child by forcing my wife to give birth without the support system she needed. I don't care about money. If we win anything, it's going straight into a fund for our daughter or to charity. What I care about is making sure no one else has to go through what we did. This midwife has to answer for her actions. She took away a once-in-a-lifetime moment from me, something I will never forgive her for. Hello everyone, I'm Peter. Welcome to our space for true stories. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. We will select the best comments to send to the original poster op of the real Reddit story. We hope your insights help them overcome their challenges. Thank you for being part of our community. Please sit back and enjoy today's story. I'm babysitting my sister, and she thinks she needs to go to the ER for her period, and I don't know what to do. Okay, I'm watching my sister while our parents are traveling abroad. It's a completely different time zone, and the signal is terrible, but they'll be home in 6 days. Both of us are pretty independent, and we figured we'd be fine. Our parents left us with food money and everything we needed. So far, everything's been Gucci all week. Anyway, this morning, she got her period while we were sitting around playing video games, and she bled all over the couch. So I paused the game while she went to clean up and put on a pad. No big deal. I try to be nice about it because I know it can make girls cranky and in pain and stuff, so I got her snacks, a blanket, and whatever else, and we kept playing. Maybe 40 minutes later, she freaks out again because she bled through the couch again, and I'm like, "Did you put it on wrong or something?" So, she changes again, and this time, I even helped her clean the blood off the couch, thinking she's probably using the wrong kind of pad or whatever. NBD. Like 30 minutes later, we start playing again, and she stops, goes to the bathroom, and I hear her scream. So I run in there thinking there's a spider or something, but she walks out holding this chunk. It looked like a blood clot. And I'm like, "Dan, is that an organ? Like, is that your kidney?" But she says no, it's a blood clot. And she's freaking out about it. Yeah, it was gross. It was the size of a hacky sack. So, I'm like, okay, go flush your clot. Anyway, she cleaned up, but then she said she didn't want to play anymore, and I was fine with that. So, she spent an hour on the couch doing yoga, breathing with this scrunched up face, and telling me her cramps were the worst ever. I gave her some Tylenol, but she wouldn't take it because she said she felt like she was going to throw up. I brought her water and juice and heated up that gel thing you put on your stomach, you know? So, I'm trying to help. Then she says, "Oh no," and gets up to go to the bathroom, and as she's walking, she says she feels the blood running down her legs. She screams for me from the bathroom, and I go in there, and she's sitting down, and I hear this plop sound, and there are more clots like that. Maybe 2 of them. And she's like, "I think we need to go to the ER." I'm like, "Why?" And she tells me this is more blood than she's ever had, and she feels sick. But periods are supposed to be bad, right? And she didn't even take the Tylenol, so she's not really trying to manage it at home. So then she starts yelling at me, saying I need to take her because she can't drive, but I'm pretty sure our parents would kill me if I took her to the ER for her period. Is that even a thing? Right now, she's sitting in the bathtub because she says she thinks the warm water feels good, and she's tired of bleeding on everything, and it's more comfortable than sitting on the toilet. I asked her if she needed a bigger pad, and she told me to get lost, so she's not even talking to me at this point. I've asked her a few times if she's okay in there, and she told me, "I'm bleeding, Mason, what do you think?" So she's not passing out or anything. I don't know anything about this stuff, but I know she hates blood and freaks out over even a tiny cut. Is going to the ER for your period a thing? Can you bleed too much? I thought there was only a certain amount of blood in your vagina every month. I feel like she'd be more comfortable at home if she just took the Tylenol. I don't know what to do. My sister is teen-sized, pretty skinny because she's a ballet dancer and doesn't eat meat. She takes care of her skin and pimples. I'm not sure if there's anything else important. I'm pretty sure she's had her period for about a year now. Maybe more. She sometimes takes Flintstone gummy vitamins, like the ones in the purple bottle. And she's obsessed with Celsius energy drinks. She wears contacts and had her wisdom teeth out 2 months ago. I don't know. I want her to be okay and everything, but I'm just not sure the ER is the right move. Help! 7 hours later. We both fell asleep. Got a text from mom, and they're looking at flights home. She's feeling a lot better now. They gave her medicine to stop the bleeding. Didn't expect this to blow up like it did. Probably should have known more about CTs earlier. 6 hours later. The CT was fine too. They're pretty sure she has a blood disorder, just waiting for results. I guess when she had her wisdom teeth out, she bled more than normal, but I didn't know that before. So yeah, now we're just waiting for that, but they don't think it's anything wrong with her uterus or whatever. 8 hours later. Okay, I'm gonna try here instead of posting, hoping it'll be more low-key lol. But can someone who knows about type 2 von Willebrand tell me about it? Like, it's a blood disorder, right? The internet says everything from mild to life-threatening, and I just want to know more about it and how it affects everyday life and stuff. I also appreciate all the help from my sister earlier. You guys are awesome for doing that. Update 1. Okay, I guess I posted updates in the comments, but here's better, right? Anyway, my sister's okay. She had some scans that all came back fine, and they don't think she has fibroids, tumors, or anything like that. She's feeling better but staying at least one more night. Our parents are flying back tomorrow. My mom's mad that I texted her instead of calling it first. Some people have tried to find me on Insta, so like, if you think you know me or her, no, you don't. She doesn't want this to get out at school or anything, so please don't bother us for at least 3 years. She's fine with me updating as long as I don't use her name or anything. Also, our parents still don't know about this. I feel like we should wait a few years to tell them so they don't kill me. She'll hold this over my head forever now, I swear. Anyway, they think she has a blood disorder that stops her from clotting properly. I'm not 100% sure how that works because she had those giant clots. But they said they're pretty sure it's that because her PTT takes longer than normal to clot. They're waiting on von Willebrand test results, but they think she might have type 2. I'm Googling that tonight, because I have no idea what that is, and I've never heard of it before, so if any doctors know, or if it sounds like it, LMK. Yeah, I didn't expect this to blow up like this. I thought this was just like doctors answering questions, like a helpline. But my sister says thanks to everyone who told me to take her in, and she's doing fine. Update 2. They confirmed it's von Willebrand, not sure if I'm spelling that right, but anyway it's genetic I guess, so they want me to get tested too, but obviously I've never had a period, and I haven't had surgery, so it wouldn't be as obvious. Still more tests to come, like more specific ones about the type. But anyway, she's good, and we have answers. She'll talk to a hematologist next week about what that means and other stuff. Update 3. So, I have von Willebrand too. So, does our mom. I've always bruised easily and had terrible nosebleeds, but I guess I was just a dumb kid/teen thinking life was an audition for Jackass, so I didn't think it was weird, lol. Anyway, we're all about to get real familiar with hematology, and my mom's mad that she didn't know some women just bleed a lot more their whole lives, lol. Guess my mom and sister weren't exaggerating when they said they were bleeding to death. So yeah, if you're a girl reading this and you bleed as much as my sister, maybe get checked out by a doctor. Hopefully no one chokes like my mom did, but yeah. Here's a public apology for not knowing what you really go through, because I thought you could only bleed so much in a month. I'm fully ready to admit that was dumb. Update 4. Hey, it's me again. Anyway, my sister's on her period, and thought she needed to go to the ER, and she actually did. Now I have another question, but first, thanks to everyone who answered my first post and guided me, because she was in a rough spot. So, my sister has type 2 von Willebrand. Apparently, so do I and my mom. My mom's been stunned for years by the amount of blood, and my sister almost bled out because we all got diagnosed like WTF. Anyway, I play recreational football. I'll have to pay fees soon, and I don't want to lose money if I'm told I shouldn't play anymore because it's a contact sport, but I don't see the hematologist for 5 weeks since I'm not urgent, lol. So I'm wondering if any doctors know if I'll be told that maybe I shouldn't play football anymore? I also like rock climbing, is that okay? Should I be taking up chess, knitting or something? Thanks again for your help.